Hi everyone, this is Dr. Marco. This week's health tip, it's a bit of a rant, but just want to talk a little bit about the whole sort of lack of brain function on the end of the spectrum for people when we're getting into Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, and just like brains not working the way they should. There's been a lot of a lot of new research and a lot of information about Alzheimer's, but there's sort of one big thing that's kind of missing in the whole way people are looking at it. And, as far as causes of all this, they're looking at all sorts of things. Like, the biggest one is just like a global systemic inflammation problem in the body. And inflammation is being, like, we're talking about chronic systemic inflammation in your whole body. Not like, I hurt my shoulder and it's inflamed. We're talking about a cellular inflammation all through the body. That's been linked to all of the chronic diseases, cancer, diabetes, etc., autoimmune, the whole gamut. So that's a big one here. But here they're also looking into things like, if you've heard of the lymphatic system in our body, that's sort of like the sewer system, the drainage system. Well, there's something in the brain called the glymphatic system, because the glial cells in the brain are the system that should be draining. And a lot of times that's not working on people, so the plaques are forming and things. They're finding that some people that have the plaques in their brain don't have dementia. And then other people that have no plaques, they have dementia. So the plaques were just sort of like a byproduct of the problem, not necessarily the problem, sort of like cholesterol being in a clot inside your artery. Well, the cholesterol is there to actually fix damage that's happened to the arterial wall. It's not the cause of the health problem. It's not the cause of the clot. It's what your body's doing to naturally heal it. And the plaques in the brain are kind of looking as that as the same idea. And there are like all sorts of things, hidden Lyme disease, a lot of parasites. Sometimes there's these little worms that might be in one part of your brain, cause some sort of challenge here, then they wiggle to another place. That place gets healed with a plaque, and then they're somewhere else, and then you're having dysfunction somewhere else in your body. So they're even looking at that as a potential cause of MS kind of things. The biggest one that they're talking about is insulin resistance. So because our diets in North America were peaking our blood sugar so much all the time for how we eat with all the refined carbohydrates and the lack of healthy fats and the lack of fiber and all that kind of stuff, the blood sugar is going up and down like crazy. The insulin is spiking up and down. The cells in the brain are actually becoming insulin resistant, and then there's a whole problem there. They're actually calling it type 3 diabetes. And there's even different variations of that too. So all of that is great, and that's really the big things we need to focus on. But the one biggest thing, there's been some important summits regarding this, like all the best doctors in the world coming in and teaching doctors like us about it. And one of the biggest ones that they said that people are kind of overlooking and not seeing is the effect of these things on your brain. Now, what is it? Okay? It's the drug use that's happening, medicine that's being prescribed to our seniors. There's a program that they use. It does like an algorithm where you can like insert one or two drugs, and it kind of looks at the type of interactions they have. After you've gone past 3 drugs, there's so many different variables that program goes into tilt, and it doesn't give you an answer anymore. So many of our seniors are taking 7, 8, 9, even up to 13 pills, and you can see them. They're popping open the things, and there was one guy that says, man, he just started down the path, and he said, this looks like my breakfast. There's so many pills I have to be taking. And just to get the concept of that, so much of that stuff can have a negative impact on brain function that you have no idea. I'll just give you 2 classic examples. We're going to look at high blood pressure and cholesterol. So let's look at the high blood pressure. We always say that your body's intelligent. If a tiger just came running at me, my blood pressure would have to go up for me to run away from the tiger. So that's a stress. So we're all living in a world that has stress in it. So if people have like a stress perception and their body's not handling stress properly, their blood pressure actually is supposed to go up because it needs to, because it's thinking it needs to run away from this tiger all the time. So artificially reducing that could be a problem. Let's say somebody's been eating poorly and their red blood cells, instead of being floating around like this, and they're all independent and they're providing oxygen to the cells. When people are eating improperly, a lot of times the cells start to stick together. They lose their negative charge on the outside, and they all start to form like a roll of quarters, almost like they're all the red blood cells are stuck together. So that's actually carrying a lot less oxygen. But your brain doesn't want to die of oxygen starvation. So your body's actually probably going to increase your heart rate and your blood pressure to pump more blood up into the brain, because there's less oxygen transfer coming from all those inefficient blood supply. So we need more blood pressure. We need a higher blood pressure to get more blood up into the brain. So now if we take our medication and lower that blood pressure, all of a sudden you're getting less blood flow into the brain and your brain cells are going to start to dysfunction. That's just an example, okay? And then if we look at cholesterol, for example, I think the whole statin drug thing is going to be the biggest debacle. When they look back on this in about 20 years, they're going to see just how bad this has actually been for our population. But the brain is mainly made out of fat. And the cells in your brain, cholesterol is actually in the membrane of the cells, and the membrane is the brain. Think of the membrane, the thing that surrounds your cell. That's what's letting in good things and putting bad things out. If that cell membrane starts to function poorly, then you got a problem, because your hormones can't be heard, you're going to get insulin resistant, you're going to have problems expressing your genetic expression in your brain, proteins won't be developed properly, there's going to be tangles, there's going to be improper expression, and cholesterol actually helps to stabilize the channels that stuff goes in and out of. So cholesterol is really important for the stability of the membrane around your cells. Just think of the brain of your cells being its membrane. So if you have lowering your cholesterol artificially because for some reason it went high, and very often it goes high on purpose, because once again, if you have stress, your body thinks it might be in a fight, so if you get scratched, you don't want to bleed to death, so you're going to have more cholesterol just in case you need to make some clots, and you're going to have more cholesterol to make adrenaline and your stress hormones. So cholesterol is the precursor, or the molecule that your body uses to make most of the important hormones that it needs. So that's just two, and you have so many seniors that are on so many drugs, and you put all that stuff together, and of course they're going to start having decline in their brain function. So obviously it's not my role to tell people to stop taking their drugs, but I just want you to really, really think about this and take action. So you say, well, what can I do to start changing my diet, changing my lifestyle now, so that I don't head down this road, because it's very difficult after you're here. So they're actually talking about, you have to go back now 30 or 40 years before you even get the first inkling of something going wrong with your brain. That's when you need to be taking care of it. So we have all our kids today, a little bit of brain fog, I'm kind of forgetting my stuff, and it's hard for me to study. These are all little signs that we really need to take care of ourselves now. So that's my rant for this week. So basically the idea is, look, if you can have a good relationship with your doctor, say, look, can we start to do a program? Maybe if I start to do more stress management, more exercising and eating properly, can I wean myself off of some of these drugs? And I know that 90% of the people would probably get way better just if they stopped toxically loading their body. And the other thing that all these drugs usually end up doing is destroying the healthy bacteria in our intestines. And the gut and the brain are vitally connected. I mentioned this in so many of my other videos. So if you destroy your intestinal health, you destroy the bacteria in there from taking medications, which all medications will cause a disruption in the bacteria inside your intestines. When that gets disrupted, a lot of the hormones and precursors for the hormones or neurotransmitters for our brain are actually produced in the intestines. So it's actually our second brain, and it's vitally important. So once again, all of this is impacting that as well. So this is just something else to think about. So that's your health tip for this week. If you found this helpful, of course, please share the video. And of course, my number one recommendation for all these people is make sure you're going to get some corrective chiropractic care. You're getting a chiropractor that's going to be doing wellness-based care, reducing stress on the spine and the nervous system, helping your body decrease its stress, and then put you on the path to be eating properly and exercising whatever you can to prevent this. Because as they say in these summits, a lot of people, I'm sure you've heard of cancer survivors. There's thousands of those around the world, but there's no Alzheimer survivors. There's no dementia survivors. They don't have a solution for this stuff, so we need to start working on this now. Okay? So that's your health tip for this week, and we'll see you next time.